Hello, welcome to my channel Dalma Makes, and welcome to this project where I'm going to show you how I made this decorative box with a cross-stitch design element on the lid. I found this wooden box in a charity shop, and it has a lot of tiny holes in the lid, so it's perfect for cross-stitch. So first of all, I'm removing the hinges so that I can work freely with the parts, and I'm also sanding the raw edges, and I'm also staining the wood a nice reddish brown. I just diluted some acrylic paint in lots of water. It's important that I stained it and not painted it with acrylic paint, because that might have clogged the little holes and would have made sewing through it 1,000 times harder. So it's just a very thin wash of paint that stains the wood really well. So for the design, I was looking for Pokemon pixel art, and I actually found a cross-stitch pattern by Mockingbird Stitching on DeviantArt, and it was free to use, so that's what I downloaded. I will leave a link to their DeviantArt page in the description if you're interested in her designs. So I just printed off the design on a piece of paper so that I could follow it along. And of course, I'm going through my embroidery box and trying to find threads that will match the colors that I'm going to need for the design. It's really nice to actually have the threads organized in rainbow colors. Okay, so I've decided to sort of start with the outline, and I'm threading the needle with all 6 strands of the embroidery floss. I thought fuller look would make it look better. And I'm counting again, making sure that I start at the right place, and I just start stitching. At first it was pretty easy because all of the holes only had thread going through them twice, but later in the project, when I need to return to the same holes for the neighboring stitches, it's going to become quite hard, and I'm going to have some suffering for my poor little fingers. But I'm just carefully taking my time and counting and recounting, especially now with the outline, because I need to anchor myself in that space to make sure that everything is going to be proportional and that there will be no mistakes. I should also say this is actually the very first time I tried cross-stitching. I like embroidery a lot, but cross-stitching wasn't very attractive to me because of its repetitive nature, and the fact that if you miscount a row or something, like, your whole design can be ruined. And I just didn't have confidence that I wouldn't mess up the numbers. So it was a little bit coconuts to start cross-stitching in wood, but as I said, I found this box and it was just calling to me to make something interesting. So I just braved it, and this is the result. Because of the thickness of the wood, it was eating up my thread twice as fast as fabric would probably. So I had to change threads a lot, and it was a little bit difficult to work away the thread at the back of the design without interfering with the future neighboring stitches. So they were kind of left loose with one knot, but that is going to be addressed later in the project. And I decided to do some sort of pixel art on top instead of some sort of traditional design. And of course I wanted something cute, so Pokemon came to mind, and I chose Pichu because he's really cute and the unevolved form of the most iconic Pokemon character. And honestly, it was small and round, and it would fit in the 32 by 32 pixels. So after a rough outline, I moved on to the yellow outline, and then I did the eyes again, just so that I can anchor myself in the big empty space that was Pichu's face. And then I did the cheeks, and starting to move on to the shading detail. I know on the sped up footage it looks like it's going really fast, but actually this project, the cross stitch part only took me about 12 hours, but it was fun. I'm not complaining. I just don't know whether I will be able to have the patience to do larger pieces, although the thought of making more Pokemon pixel art things is very appealing to me. As you can see, I have started using a pair of pliers to help me pull the needle through with the tightening holes, as having to go through the same hole while you already have 3 of the 6-strand embroidery floss in it, and the 4th time can be really difficult, and it was hurting my fingers, so I started using the pliers for almost every stitch. And actually I did break 3 different needles while working on this project, but it was worth it. I was probably not using the right needle, but I couldn't find a finer one. Maybe if I used the finer one, I wouldn't have been able to thread all the 6 strands through it, so I don't know. I'm just a beginner. There it is, my little Pichu is done. But of course I wanted to give him some sort of background. At first I toyed with something more complicated, but I realized that with the amount of pixels that I have to work with, it was gonna be really hard to pull off something interesting. So I just did a very simple ground and sky background, which I think it's okay. It complements the cute little character better. Sometimes less is more, right? So I'm just gonna speed through this part. There, the ground is done, and then I am using a few shades of blue. I sort of do a gradient from top to bottom, getting a bit softer towards the ground, because I started out with a sort of icy blue. I'm on my final few stitches now, I'm so close to finishing. I remember it was late at night and I was tired, but I just really wanted to finish those last few stitches. And I'm glad I did, because I sleep really well with a sense of accomplishment for the day. Ta-da! I think it's adorable. So the next day I was going to address the problem of the back, and I also wanted to line the box to make it look a little bit more finished. So I chose a light green piece of felt. I measured, marked and cut out the pieces that I needed, and I stuck them inside. I know technically I'm losing space from the inside of the box, but because the box was so simple and I didn't want to add any other design element on the outside to deter from the cross stitch, so I just decided to make it nice and fluffy and cozy. Unfortunately, my felt piece wasn't quite long enough to go all around the perimeter, so I had to do a little bit of a patch job, but in the end it turned out alright. So I'm just cutting off some straggler threads from the back that I knew were going to insist in poking out, and I'm applying a very generous coat of PVA glue over the back of the stitches, actually quite saturating them. So this design is not going anywhere, and the felt piece is going to keep it protected, and it's not going to unravel ever. So I do the same for the interior of the box, just a generous amount of glue and some careful fitting. The bottom of the box was a little bit trickier, and I actually had to round the corners of the rectangle, but it turned out okay. I needed that overlap because I had no confidence in myself making it fit perfectly, no matter how many times I measured. And I decided to shade the interior felt a little bit. Some may say this is unnecessary, but you know what? It's my project and it is my taste to make things look a little bit more weathered. I don't really like the brand new shiny look. The hinges on the box were actually silver, and I thought gold would work better with this color scheme. So I'm just using some alcohol ink to paint the hinges and even the ends of the tiny screws. Again, I think the little details are worth it because they make it look that much more refined and cared for. Alcohol ink is a special formula that sticks to metal, glass, and even plastic. Okay, so the metal box was just simply stained at the beginning, and I wanted it to be sealed in, so I'm just applying a couple of coats of acrylic varnish. But because the wood was raw and it wasn't exactly painted, it was so thirsty, it absorbed the varnish and it became rough even after sanding and applying a couple of coats. So I figured if I apply a layer of embossing powder, which is a sort of very fine particles of enamel that can be melted with heat. I may be able to add a thick protective coating, and it will make it look shiny and more finished. I really like how this works so quickly. So what I'm using there is a sort of very sticky transparent ink. It's called a watermark ink, and because it's so sticky, the embossing powder sticks to it really well. And I'm just applying it all over the exterior of the box. I just really like watching how the embossing powder turns. It's very satisfying. Of course, I give the same treatment to the lid, making sure to brush off the excess with a clean, soft brush. And there it is, the enamel is instantly set and it's good to go. So I'm just reattaching the now gold hinges. And there it is, my little Pichu box is finished. It could be a jewelry box, it could be a trinket tray. I'm not sure what I'm going to be using it for. Maybe I'll save it and give it as a gift to a friend. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Do let me know what you think about this project in the comments below. I would love to hear some feedback. And if you like the sort of content that I make, please consider subscribing. I have a lot more crafty projects on my channel already. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Bye.